Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Marshall wanted to start a minute early, so you get an extra minute of us talking about Ahsoka Episode 3.
It was good.
Yeah. So this is the To Find a Jedi podcast, a.k.a. the #1 Team Merrick fan show.
Fan show.
Yep. We're big stands of Merrick. Mark.
Mark.
I think it's Mark.
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 Yes.
I'm gonna call him
Mark, my beloved.
I'm gonna call him Mark for the rest of the series. Also, we got some new lighting, so we can do all kinds of fun stuff. Like, there we go. Put some eyeballs on us.
You gotta turn your head.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, as we said, we had a great time watching episode 3. It's always great when you end the episode going, no, that's where it ends.
Yes. It felt very short.
I know, it did. I mean, the last one we had like the psychological knowledge of like there being 2 episodes in a row.
True.
This one we knew it was only 1, but it's still like through it I was like, oh man, I hope they make it to we've seen the scene in the trailers that is like them all fighting under the red trees, which we assume are I wrote down the name of the planet this time, Cetos. We assumed that fight is going to take place on Cetos. Like, we're really like looking forward to that a lot, and so we were like, please make it. But hey, it delivered. So
It did.
Yeah. Let's jump right in, shall we? I kind of broke up how we were going to talk about it today because I feel like there were like a couple of like distinct areas, and there was like so much good to talk about that it was difficult for me to just be like, what were the highlights? Because like a lot of it was a highlight. So I thought we would at first talk about the New Republic and Hera and Jason, since that is kind of separate from everything else that's going on. How does it feel to see Kanan's baby boy in the flesh?
They did it better than I thought they were going to do it. What?
Angela's here.
Oh. Hello. Oh, another person. Same person.
No, yeah. Okay, all we went over was the fact that we're the #1 Merrick stand club here. He's our boy.
Yes.
Anyway.
I guess I didn't really know what age to expect him to be.
Yeah.
But like, it makes sense that since she's not like carrying a baby around, that he was going to be older.
Yeah, so he was born like 0 BBY basically, or 1 BBY maybe at the latest.
And where are we now?
Like somewhere between 9 and 13.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. He looks like a 10-year-old, so I would say that that's probably a pretty good guess.
I like how they didn't get super adventurous with like the cross species questions of humans, and
they gave him the green hair at least.
I could go get green hair right now, and I'm not the product of
I know, but 2
disparate species.
There was a lot of controversy because of course we see Jason at the end of Rebels.
Yes.
And he has like the green pointy ears, but like he has like human skin and he has green hair. And the Lego set was leaked for the new Ghost, and on the Lego set he appeared to have brown hair and just looked like a
boy.
A boy. And so, not that he wouldn't have looked like a boy if he was half black, but
a human boy.
Jason Sindula, human boy.
Also, I don't know if anybody else has read these books. Obviously people have, but there was a series of books that got retconned when they made it all extended universe stuff.
Most people are aware of Jason Solo.
Jason Solo, okay.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. So a lot of people are speculating whether or not Jason's going to take Jason Solo's role, which everyone thinks that's kind of outlandish that would happen. So.
That'd be great, though.
Okay. So yes.
Sorry.
Yes, it is a relief that he at least has green. He at least has some. Yes. Although I would have kind of expected, maybe they just didn't want to do this to this kid. And honestly, I'm not like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that they like fixed after like the whole outrage because of the leak. If they like digitally like they're like, make his hair green.
Make his hair green.
And they just like digitally.
His mom's green. Green hair.
I honestly, my worst fear after this scene is that it kind of like, it was kind of like an out, like an easy out for them to be like, okay, we're gonna have our Hera moment. We're gonna have Jason. He's wearing a piece that like looks like his dad's armor. I don't know if it's supposed to be exactly Kanan's armor, but it's like it's painted the same way and
it's
everything.
like some kind of creature skull.
I can't remember. It's like a 3-pronged thing.
It's cool.
It is. It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars symbol. It's him dad thing. So that's nice. It kind of seemed like they were giving them an out to just appear in this one thing, and then like maybe we're done with Hera and Jason for the rest of the series, and possibly Chopper too, which would be sad. Although I mean, like I understand.
No, not Chopper. Chopper has to come back. Don't say that.
I'm just saying that like
Chopper's my favorite Rebel character.
I felt like, and this is honestly, I think this is the weakest part of the episode because the rest of the episode is like so fantastic and I have no complaints whatsoever. I did still like this, but I did think it was kind of the weakest part is like we're like hammering down how useless the New Republic is for some reason. We did it in Mandalorian, we're doing it in this too, but it kind of just felt like a way for them to kind of write Hera and Chopper and Jason like off for the rest of the show. Be like, nope, sorry, we can't send the fleet and help you.
I really hope that's not the case.
I hope that what's going to happen is that Hera's going to be like, screw it.
I think that would be a very Hera thing to do.
Fly in the last second. Yeah. The New Republic is like they clearly have decided what story they want to tell about the New Republic. So. I mean, even from as far back as Last Shot. So I read Last Shot pretty recently, but it came out as a tie-in to the Solo movie. And it had a lot of stuff about, oh, well, the New Republic's hands tied. They can't, like, get involved. That's why Han Solo has to get involved, because they won't, like, actually send fleets to investigate things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I you know what? I'm glad though because I think it builds some suspense. The thing in the chat for those of you who are watching this later on YouTube is Angela's surprised that Hera doesn't just like immediately leave for Cetos.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for them to build a little bit of suspense, which I think kind of brings us into our next talking point, which is, I mean, unless you had something to say else about that kind of opening.
Just go see Mon Mothma again.
Yeah. Fresh after and the costumes. I thought that the costumes in this scene were really good, like the senator costumes, like very East Asian inspired, and I feel like whoever did the costumes for Andor maybe came back to make their costumes because they were like really detailed and awesome. I thought they were very stately senator costumes. So
it was also kind of funny that they had like 4 humans and 1 Gran.
Yeah.
I
love Gran though.
I love Gran too.
Oh, no. And they had another Mon Calamari in the scene.
Right, but he wasn't in the.
No, I know he wasn't in the Senate, but like we were just talking about how there's so many Mon Calamari in this.
Yes.
Well, I guess they're on Mon Calamari freighters, or like those big like
the
rounded
ships.
Yeah, exactly. So they're on those ships, but like I feel like we've seen like 4 Mon Calamari in this. There's the guy who immediately gets nerfed. There's, the first one to die
in the whole show
is a Mon Calamari. There's a Mon Calamari that is in a background of a shot that kind of has like vitiligo, which I thought was like really neat. Like it's got like like white and pinkish patches on it, which I thought was really neat. There was another Mon Calamari who like cuts off like Hera at one point, who looks kind of like Admiral Raddus, but I'm not sure. And he was a lot skinnier. Yeah, sure. But I don't know. I mean, so that's another Mon Calamari. And then there was a Mon Calamari in this scene, too. And he was so cute with his big bug eyes. I think, of all of the aliens that they've done to varying degrees success, classic aliens from the Star Wars franchise, the Mon Calamari look great.
He reminded me of Sam's sashimi.
You're so mean.
No, I like him very much, but he looked exactly like a piece of salmon sashimi. Sorry. He's fish.
Did Raddus survive Rogue One?
No.
That's a good question.
Pretty sure his shit got blown up.
He was in space, though.
I have to look that up. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I need to watch Rogue One again. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the son of Raddus.
or it's just
There was a Mon Calamari in The Mandalorian too. Remember the love story?
right. There's
with the
plenty.
core?
There's plenty of them. Just like the Jedi, there's a lot more Jedi than we thought were left.
There's a lot more Mon Calamari than we thought were left. There are so many Mon Calamari in the Rebellion, and I love it. Thank you, Star Wars.
I love the fish people.
All right, so now we're gonna go to Sabine's training next, which I think is actually the opening scene.
Yeah,
we open in and the score on the score in general. I really haven't talked enough about how awesome the score is. The music is just perfect, and it's drama building, and I felt like that was missing from some of the other Disney Plus shows. At least on the first episode, I was paying attention to the credits, and they credited Kevin Kiner, who did the music for Rebels. And rewatching Rebels, I'm like, oh my god, the music for Rebels is so incredible, and I'm finding the same emotions in this, and that, like, what do they call those, like, block instruments that you strike together?
I know, kalimba, maybe? I don't know.
No, a kalimba's like a,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Not a musician.
Alright, yeah. It's like like these metal
They sound very good.
Yes.
And the whole thing with, like, a good Star Wars soundtrack or score is that it still retains the feeling, but adds something. And this had, like, the right notes and the right, like, kind of chord progression almost, but it still sounded, like, very unique.
I thought it was the peak, the Purrgil scene, the score in that, and oh my god, at the end with Balin.
Yes.
When he's like having them hunt down the Jedi, like having all the assassin droids hunt down the Jedi. That score moment, and to end on that score moment was like, I'm like shaking in my seat because I'm so excited with that cool music they chose for the end.
Everything about this episode was well put together. Like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yes,
from the show.
It is. Okay. Sabine's training.
Yes.
I thought this was a really, really cool way to tie in a lot of classic Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. So they had, like, the and you pointed this out that they did a good job of. They didn't just have her, after the discussion with Ahsoka, she wasn't able to just reach out and move the coffee cup.
I would have been so disappointed if
like,
she just
was like,
immediately did it.
Nope.
Yep, you win this time.
You win this time, coffee cup. That was good.
Yeah. I really like the face shield covering, which, you know, obviously it's a big thing for Luke. So that's like A New Hope training sequence, but they do it in a very refreshing way. I thought the banter with Hu Yang was very good. That he's still, like, it gave Ahsoka a chance to, like, defend Sabine and, like, build her up, which I thought was nice to see after the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, like it was like a W for Sabine, even though she couldn't use the Force. She still, like, had a good sequence that wasn't just her, like, getting scolded.
Yeah,
basically.
And I mean, Ahsoka's training too. I mean, this goes back to, like, the Ahsoka novel. In the Ahsoka novel, the 6th brother, who's the Inquisitor that Ahsoka fights, has a covering that shields his eyes and everything. And when he's fighting Ahsoka, he has to take it off to be able to see her because she's so good that he can't just fight her with the blinders down. So he has to lift the blinder up, and that's how he dies, actually, when she blows up his lightsaber in his face and it kills him because he didn't have the blast shield down over his face. So I thought that, like, that scene when she has Sabine put the mask over her face, and you know, her commentary in the novel is that, you know, Anakin taught her to fight so well that she could have fought with the visor down the whole time because it's like her trust and her connection to the Force was so strong. So that's what I was thinking about, kind of, when this scene was going on.
That's a good connection. I didn't pick that up at the time, but I thought I don't think we've ever seen lightsaber training like this. Like, we've seen the training droid, the floating orb. But this style with Hu Yang reminded me of how they, like, demonstrate katanas or like Japanese edge weapons, where they use tatami mats that are rolled in, like, a big column.
Yes.
And the whole test is, like, being able to cut through it in one easy swipe. And each one of his, like, it was a projection on each one of his limbs.
Yes.
It was like,
well, he was holding, like, little.
Yeah, he was, like, holding two, and then he had some that came out of his back, like he had extra arms.
That's true.
And it looked like basically cyber tatami mats, and then it recorded each one of the angle cuts.
Yeah.
It was a lot of really good attention to detail.
Yeah, and her footwear too. She had like the padded. I don't know what those shoes are called. They have like the slit for the toe, and it's like wrapped around her calves and everything.
It was more of it was definitely referencing like traditional Eastern fighting style.
Yeah, which Star Wars always has.
Oh yeah.
But it's nice to kind of it's nice to kind of like acknowledge like the source of where it comes from instead of just like taking those mysticism things and then kind of like burying them, so it's like, oh, I came up with this myself.
Yeah.
But no, this I think it's like honoring it in a way that's like very like you can recognize it.
Yeah.
In this, and not in a way that's like jarringly like human. You know,
no, it's not like it's straight from Earth. I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just and it's not boiled down too much. I mean, obviously, it's not. You don't have like all the cultural relevance or whatever, but like it seemed to be done in a way that was well integrated into Star Wars.
Yes, I agree. And two, I like the pace that the show is going right now. That these moments of training and bonding and everything feel really earned. Again, we were kind of like after The Mandalorian season 3, where it kind of felt like, well, every little advantage we get plays out by the end of the same episode, which feels a little like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, like this is a surprise tool that will help us later, and then it appears like 15 minutes later. This feels like it's going to take some time to pay off the things that we're seeing right now in episode 3, which is good writing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's suspenseful. You
want like a mix, especially if you're doing something that's like episodic content. You want a mix of stuff that pays out immediately versus stuff that pays out over time.
Yeah. But it's well seated.
Yeah.
It's well seated, which was one of my things about Kenobi was, there were things about Kenobi and details that, especially I think it's episodes 4 and 5, we fill in a lot more of like Reva's backstory and everything. There were moments that when I was watching Kenobi for the first time, the first 2 episodes felt very jarring because it's like, well, what's going on here? But then by 4 and 5, when you know Reva's backstory, it's like, okay, so like all of this stuff that's happened makes sense, but it kind of feels like it wasn't seated well enough for us to kind of pick up on it as it went through. And like this feels like it's very like I can tell that something's coming from this, and it's not just like, well, why would they say that?
Yeah, it gives you enough to build on without leaving you so lost in terms of motivations.
Right.
And character relationships was another big thing.
Yeah.
That Kenobi, they left a lot to like. This is my opinion. Obviously, it's all opinion, but
we actually have differing opinions on Kenobi. So
Kenobi seemed like it left a lot to just people being familiar with these characters that are so well established that some of the stuff it didn't seem like they wanted to bother with going in too deep until they got to the later episodes, where there's a lot of stuff that felt assumed.
Yeah, the second half of the series was definitely much better than the first half.
Which, when you have 6 episodes, really...
And that was something that really made us nervous about Ahsoka only being 8 episodes, and like the first 2 kind of felt a little rough to us. But after this episode, I'm feeling a lot more confident. So that's great. So is that... Oh, there was something I wanted to touch on about Sabine's training. And this kind of is about the whole, can Force-sensitive people, or can non-Force-sensitive people use the Force? And I think that I had to really think on that, because I'm like, well, I don't know if I want it to be something that like everybody can just like practice and then all of a sudden you can lift rocks or whatever. I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but I actually do think that there was an example given to us by Star Wars of someone who can like use the Force to an extent who isn't Force-sensitive, and I think that's Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One.
Right, he's Force-sensitive, but not in, like, the Jedi way.
Right. It's like he's in tune with it. Like, he's like a monk, and he studies it, and he understands it, and he meditates on it. Kind of the things that, like, Ahsoka's talking about here. And it's like, because of that, like, he has faith in the Force, and, like, it seems like he can see, even though he's blind, or he just trusts enough in the Force. But he seems to have, like, extrasensory abilities that other non-force sensitive people don't seem to
sure.
have. So I think that, like, you know, if it was like, well, why is this coming up now? I think that there is kind of an example of how that can be done and done well in the Star Wars universe as well. So that was something that I thought about today, actually, like when I was kind of dwelling on that episode a little more.
To me, it feels like to me like how it if you are like fully you know, if you're fully able-bodied, like you can like football, for example.
Right.
I could, if I had like started playing football as a kid,
mm-hmm.
I could have gotten pretty good at football.
Right.
But I'm not Cam Newton. Like I'm not
right.
6'7".
Right.
I don't have the reach, or like Michael Phelps is a good example.
Yeah.
Like that is more of kind of a genetic thing, but like it feels like there are some people, like you can practice it to a certain extent to reach your abilities, but there are some people that seem to have like this innate, deeper connection that they can unlock.
Yeah. And I think that too is also something that kind of comes up in the early episodes of Rebels. I think I've mentioned this before on the show, where the Inquisitor has like special criteria for like the
kids in the training.
Yes, for the kids in the training, he has special criteria, and like if you meet that criteria, then you get sent to Arcanus for like further training. Maybe there is a please stop kicking the filing cabinet. So maybe there is like something to that more than like, I mean, I think initially I assumed like obviously he's looking for force sensitive kids. He's the Inquisitor, duh. But I think there was also like, oh, well, if you're not, then we're just training you to be like good Imperial officers or something like that. But now, you know, it opens up questions more about like, what can you do to hone these people's talents? So
when I first, like as a kid, when I first watched Star Wars, the original trilogy, being like a Jedi felt like a binary thing, where you are either you're not or you are force sensitive, and you either end up becoming a Jedi or a Sith.
Right.
But after, like as they develop the canon more, it appears like there's a much bigger range of things, which is more interesting.
Yeah, we agree. Okay. So next, we're just building up further and further through the episodes. I'm building up our excitement. We have the space battle with these really, really cool
awesome
fighters
like
that I don't know what the names are yet.
Mustang,
I think they were called snub fighters in the Lego set.
Oh, they were, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm buying the Lego set.
Yeah.
I like immediately found it afterwards when I was trying to look them up. That's the first thing that popped up was the Lego set.
Yes.
Very cool, very just straight up like space World War II fighter planes. I mean, it was.
And we got a lot of Shin and Mark. And we get to hear Mark talk and is like super.
Mark talked, and it was so deep that I had to turn subtitles on.
Yes, we did have to turn subtitles on to understand Mark.
Which, you know, out of everything else that they did well in this episode, that's fine.
Yeah, they were like, I think it was like when he said she's on the wing, and we were like. I was like, hang on. It's like Ahsoka's doing like a flip or whatever on the wing of the ship, and I'm like, hang on, back up. What do you say?
Turned out to be not super significant, but I could not understand what the man was saying.
Aww.
And we want like, and anybody else who like does streaming services probably has this, but like every streaming service that's on our console has like a different volume level that has to be set at. Like whenever we watch stuff on Amazon, typically it's 25, but when we watch Disney stuff, it's 35.
Yeah.
Because the audio mixing is a lot different.
And also, I want to be shook to my core by that beautiful soundtrack.
Well, I do too, but like honestly, at 25, it's like, and then it only happens when the bass comes on. It's like I can feel it in my teeth.
Yeah.
So even at that level,
classic Star Wars is like that too.
Yeah.
I've always found that when I was watching like the Blu-ray DVDs, and like my parent, like we always had like these like open floor plan houses or whatever, and my parents would be like doing something in the kitchen or whatever, and I'm like trying to watch Star Wars in the living room, and like to hear it, I would have to like hear the dialogue. I have to turn the volume like way up. But then like a a ship would pan over, and then it would go to like all of a sudden the deep soundtrack music and it would shake the whole house, and they'd like scream at me for having the TV too loud. It's like I can't hear the dialogue.
That has gotten worse as time has gone on because
Yeah.
they seem to be designing audio for theaters specifically, and not home theaters. That's a whole other thing. But I had the same thing growing up where I would be like watching Band of Brothers or something, and they're like having a quiet recon moment, and all of a sudden there's a full-on gunfight. It's like, the house is coming down.
All right, so maybe it's not a Star Wars specific.
It feels like modern cinema has gotten worse about audio mixing for home.
So I really like the cockpit shots in this. I like the Sabine getting to tinker again.
That was great.
Obviously, Ahsoka walking out on sometimes I'm a little like, obviously I love Ahsoka as a character. Preface everything with that. Sometimes it feels like they just like make her have like just badass moments like left and right, and they kind of lose their impact. This did not lose its impact. Okay?
This was great.
This having her like walk out in the full spacesuit, which again reminded me of Last Shot, because in Last Shot you have things similar to this where Fyzen Gore is in a spacesuit fighting people in like actual fighters.
Oh, cool.
Which I've always thought was like, I when I pictured it in my head, it was so cool. It's like, oh, cool, he's got like rockets on his spacesuit. He's just like out drifting in space, using his droids and his guns and everything to like take on full ships. And I always thought that was awesome. And I'm so glad that we actually get it in a TV show now where we can see it, because in my head it looked like super awesome. And the fact that she's got the special spacesuit, and it had a Galactic Republic thing on it, so I guess she's had the spacesuit for a very long time, because it's like specifically for Togruta.
Oh, it's like a custom spacesuit.
It's specifically for Togruta, and it has the Republic emblem on the side of it.
It's got the head, Montreal's.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Is there anything else about the space battle?
Oh, and this is, I don't know how many people care about this, but I really like they kept with the like retro style with the firearms, but the weapons on the snub fighters, where it was a very high fire rate and they shot in short bursts, which is exactly the doctrine they would have used in an aircraft like this in World War II, where it's a much higher fire rate and you're only supposed to fire for a short period of time each time, because you have basically, obviously these lasers so you see them, but in the old style you would have had tracer rounds. And so they have phosphorus in them that burns and you can track them, but you're supposed to do short bursts to figure out where your aim is vectoring, and that helps you go towards target. But they seem to incorporate that style into this, even though it's a space thing.
That's cool.
But it was like a nice attention to detail that kept in spirit, I guess, with the design of the craft.
And I thought like the pacing of this fight, with having like it took Sabine a while to actually start hitting them.
Yeah.
And like you said, the first time she blows one up, she's like, what if that one had Mark in it? That's what you said. What if that's how they killed the Inquisitor?
Yeah, I was like, no, please.
No. I really appreciated that. The camaraderie between him and Shin, and the fact that it took them a while to start hitting the targets. And again, it felt like everybody was really putting a lot of trust in each other. Like, you know, even when they were letting Hu Yang like scan up until the last second, like they were really putting their faith in him.
Yeah.
Ahsoka really put her faith in Sabine. Sabine really put her faith in Ahsoka. I really thought that was a nice, like, everybody working together, even though like they kind of like their ship kind of got nearly destroyed, but they made it out okay. I thought that they've been balancing the humor very well with Hu Yang.
Yes, it's a lot less Marvel-esque, where everything has to be a joke.
Yeah. Every
12 seconds. You know what I mean? Like it feels like an appropriate level of, and in terms of that, Ahsoka had like a lot of emotions this episode, like being scared and like, holy crap. Yeah, we might die.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice change from the last episode.
Yeah.
All right. So, next we have the Purrgil.
Purrgil.
Guys, in episode 0, we were begging we said one thing that Rebels did so well was creature stuff, and now not only are the Purgil here, but there's like mythos around the Purgil going through space. Like they originate at this point, and then they go to this crap. I've already forgot the name of it. The other galaxy that they're going to.
I don't remember the name.
Anyway, I'm sure by episode 5 we'll know it by heart. But and the smile, that lovely moment with Ahsoka and Sabine when they're like, when Sabine's like, the last time I saw these was the day that Ezra disappeared, and she gives this like so heartwarming smile, and they look at each other and they smile, and it's such a great moment. And also the whales are so big, and the score's so dramatic.
Way bigger than I remember them being. And maybe it was a perspective things, but these Evers are huge.
I think that the Ghost is a much bigger ship too,
Maybe.
I think that the Ghost, like normally we see them with the Ghost and the Imperial Star Destroyers. They did, like there was one that like took an entire Imperial Star Destroyer into space. I guess it makes sense for them to be this size. But I think those are bigger ships, and these were like fighters.
But seeing them in live action was great.
Yes, I thought that they were like breathtaking. Honestly, the score, the choreography of them all like weaving in and out of the tentacles, and like the one where like the tentacles are like kind of coming together, and they're like shooting the gap between them and everything. That was just beautiful work.
Yeah,
all around.
And they did a good job. And not like they coming out of the fog, right, which is the point of the reveal. But they also did a good job with not relying on the fog to obscure the rest of the visuals. So like they still fleshed out the visuals of the Purgil as the scene progressed, as they came out of the fog, which was nice.
Yeah. And we get to see a little bit more of Cetos. I will say that the one thing about this planet, and I think this is kind of a thing with some of the stuff that's shot in the volume. These planets that we've seen so far in this series have been kind of falling flat for me. Like it's just got a bunch of red trees and ocean. There's nothing that like really like compare that to like Niamos. So that's in Andor, the beach planet that where he gets arrested and everything. Like that feels like a very concrete place. Whereas this is just like, okay, so there's like a clump of red trees and everything's red trees, which I guess is very Night Sister, maybe.
Right.
But it doesn't feel like as concrete a place, which might be, because it is like a mystical surrounding. But like think about the planets that we got in classic Star Wars and how like memorable they are down to like the flora and the fauna and the environment and everything, like Felucia, for example, or Geonosis, or Utapau, or Hoth. These places feel very concrete. And I think in Kenobi we started to lose that a little bit. Like we literally had a planet that was just Joshua Tree National Park. But again, you could make the same point about Endor, though. To be fair, that's just a redwood forest.
So that's the thing that Star Wars has always had, and it's both a strength and a weakness. Is that you have all these planets they go to, but they all end up being the blank planet. The ice planet, the desert planet.
But now we have two ice planets
and
two desert planets.
Yeah. And so now we have a planet that's just red trees. And it's fine. I mean, I understand that they can't give us like a whole tour. Like if you imagine Earth, like all the different places you can land on Earth and how weird everything would look.
Yeah.
And be different. Everything, because they're limited by scope and by time, everything seems to get boiled down to like certain characteristics. The problem with this one is that the characteristic is like red trees, which doesn't blow my mind.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm getting at too. Because like, I mean, look at like the Jedi Fallen Order series, and it's like, obviously that's a video game, so you spend like a little bit more time in each place. So maybe that's part of it. But like, I think that Bogano is like somewhere I would love to visit. The what we gotta again, Jedda's a great example. Like Jedda's kind of just a desert planet, but like the old like Jedi architecture like crumbling away and everything, like from the moment we see it in Rogue One, it's like
there's a lot more there that
and we can remember these planet names too. Like just like right off the top of my head, it's like, oh, that's Jedi. Like that was very standout. We remembered all of the Andor planet names, even though
you did.
Okay, yeah, I did.
I remember what they look like. I just don't remember the names. I remember the one that was basically shot in Ireland with all Aldhani. Yeah, Scotland. Oops, sorry. And then Space Miami. Niamos. And then
do you remember where the prison was?
No.
Narkina.
Sorry. I remember them all, like what they look like on my head. I just don't remember.
All right, where is Cassian Andor originally from?
Put the bricks. They put the people in the bricks.
No. That's Ferrix, which is where he moves to. But like when he's like a little indigenous boy.
Yeah, let's not do this.
Kunari.
Let's not do this.
All right.
This is not Marshall Gets Embarrassed about not remembering shit.
It's fine. But anyways, yeah, I felt like a lot of other Star Wars is very strong sense of place, which I think is like very fundamental to Star Wars because you want to feel like you're really in this galaxy far, far away. I feel like if there's one thing, Lothal is different. Lothal definitely feels very concrete, but they kind of get that. That one's kind of
a long time there.
That's also kind of a gimmick because Lothal is already an established place.
Yeah.
So like. And that's okay. Like, not everything has to be on that level of world building. But I think that Andor, like, very effortlessly did it. Like, Ferrix is, like, so grounded and everything like that. Whereas this is kind of lacking on that. But that's a really minor complaint. If I'm looking for things to complain about and I'm finding, like, well, the planets aren't memorable enough. That's really not that bad.
It's fine.
It's whatever.
And I assume, obviously, at this point, we're going to learn quite a bit about it next episode because they're now trying to hunt them.
Yeah. I think, hopefully, maybe once they get to the new galaxy, like that's something I really want to explore, and I will be kind of a little bit upset if we don't have time to examine that a little further.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe. But it's like this work is very character focused, so I can't be too disappointed if they don't get into that. Okay, so do you have an overall like favorite character moment or?
Man, I mean, I thought we talked about earlier, the progression in the ship when they were like trying to fight everybody. Mm-hmm. Sabine like trying to get everything running and getting into and also the rear turret is like just so again going back to like the retro feel. It's like something straight out of a B-17.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence I really enjoyed.
Between
her and Ahsoka.
I liked how much like she was so concerned about Hu Yang. Like she immediately goes to like help him.
Yeah.
Even though he's been absolutely grilling her. This entire time he's been kind of been like, well, she's not good enough to be a Jedi. The Jedi wouldn't have accepted her. They have these tests for a reason. Which my interpretation of that was like kind of like that's the kind of encouragement that Sabine needs. Like she wants a challenge, basically. Yeah. And all of that, the second that like he like gets like overpowered or whatever and like falls limp, she immediately goes to run to him, and Ahsoka has to be the one to be like, well, we can't help him if we're all dead.
Yeah.
And there's the moment that she's like she's trying to fix things and she's kind of focused on him, and then Ahsoka kind of snaps her back into the moment. Like great teamwork again.
Yeah.
From that.
Teamwork was a lot better. Yes, yeah. I think he definitely like what someone in chat is saying, they have a K2SO style humor, which is very acerbic, but in a droid way, where it being a droid takes a little bit of the edge out of it because it's like, oh, it's his programming, but really he's.
I also feel like K2 is like way more nihilistic than Hu Yang is.
I identify quite a bit with K2.
Don't we all love K2? I love droids in Star Wars, man. They're so great.
They are. And they're. It feels like I don't know if this is just lighting, but it seems like they used a lot more practical K2 in this episode, or not K2, sorry, more practical Hu Yang.
Yeah, possibly. He was seen a lot closer up and everything,
and he looked a lot less CGI'd.
He looks way better than the Assassin's droids.
Yes.
So that was something that, like, in the first episode kind of took me out of it a little bit. Like, the assassin droids look good, like, CGI wise, but, like, you can kind of tell in the way that they move that they are not really there.
Yeah.
It's like something in the way that they're moving their bodies. It's just like, it's just a little too fluid. It doesn't feel droid-like at all. And when he moves, I feel like I'm looking at an actual droid moving through space.
Yeah.
And that's something really subtle. I can't even really put my finger on why. It was like certain movements that the assassin droids made that they were just like, the momentum of it was just not quite right. That made me think a computer did this, because it doesn't have like real weight.
It's the weight.
It is the weight, I think.
It's the weight, and it's something that we have as like something that's ingrained almost at this point, where even though if you were in this space where you have these advanced technologies, you would want something to have like maybe the fluidity of a human because it's more accurate and maybe it would be more comfortable. But in reality, when we look at something that looks that different, we don't want it to move like a human.
Right.
We want it to move like a droid.
Yeah. And it isn't
C-3PO is great because he's herky-jerky. Like,
yeah.
it's fun. He looks like a droid. But if he, like, walked around like a dude and, like, patted people on the back, you'd be like, ooh. I don't like that.
I would hate that, actually.
I would hate the hell out of that.
If the practical droids were just like...
Hey, how's it going? Like, if R2-D2 could wave one of his legs. No,
well,
thanks.
But I mean, as an astromech, because, like, Chopper can, like, emote with his... Like, and BB-8...
Yeah, but it's
totally
the fact that
different.
it's...
They don't look very people-like.
No, they don't. And Chopper, like, has these little crab arms that come out of his head, and his head... Yeah, swallows around. It's like, oh, he's...
This is my Chopper.
He's a homicide... Yeah, that's Chopper. You did a Chopper.
Yes, we agree. Droid characterization, very, very good.
Yes.
Now, what... I wanted to point out something that you actually caught in the beginning that I did not catch. We're back on Mark again. So sorry, everyone.
No.
We're not sorry. We love this.
I just need to hear him talk outside of a spaceship song.
Much rust on his helmet, my poor baby. They released his action figure for pre-order today. I'm totally pre-ordering it. Anyway, something that you noticed in the intro. It like flashes through like different helmets and whatever in droid faces and whatnot. And
we're talking about the intro, like the intro they do to every Star Wars show.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So they do the thing where they flash through like the chrome almost replica of different characters.
Yes.
But they assign a tint to each one of them.
And it kind of goes back and
his
forth.
was blue.
Yeah, it goes back and forth between...
You're correct.
Yeah.
Star Wars CU1319.
That's Angela.
Hi, Angela. He was blue.
Yeah. And it flashes through antagonists and protagonists, and like the antagonists tend to flash red, and the protagonists tend to flash blue, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of speculation about
I have
that
no
might be?
idea. I have no idea. I don't... It's not... Ezra.
We are certainly in the camp that we do not want it to be Barriss. We do not want it to be Ezra. Do you think there's like another explanation? Because I'm sure that people are going to hang on to the fact that people really think that Mark is Ezra or Barriss. Although there's enough that they call Mark him and a bunch of stuff that makes me think it's probably not that.
I mean, I think the potential is probably that it's like a redeeming thing. Like you're going to be redeemed, maybe.
That would be awesome. Here's I'm gonna make a bold prediction. Okay, I'm gonna make a bold prediction that somehow in the next episode, I don't know if Mark is supposed to be someone that we know or not. I think it's supposed to be the eighth brother, but maybe it's just a total nobody.
I hope we don't know that.
Well, I hope it's the eighth brother.
Well, right, but I'm saying it's not one of these other characters that's like put on a mask.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Baylan and Ahsoka are going to fight each other at some point. We know that happens because we've seen it in the trailers. I think that it should come down to like a really, really close fight, and then somehow Baylan is about to defeat Ahsoka, and Mark is the one to step in. I don't know how they would make that work, especially with him being a previous Inquisitor. I don't know why he would do that. But I think that Balin is going to almost defeat Ahsoka, and then someone is going to intervene, and maybe that someone will be Mark.
See that. And again, we talked about this last time where we're not sure. We still don't have like an established allegiance, right? Because they.
Right. He seems
He seems like a mercenary.
And he seems to work for Balin.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he works with them, but they don't reference him in when they say we. They say, oh, he'll take care of it, as if he's like someone they hired.
Yeah. But I don't know how they would play that out.
I don't either.
Maybe it's just something that I want.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can all want things.
Yeah. It's just
they just need to do it in a way where it's not like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing.
Yeah.
They need to do it in a way where it feels earned. Because one of the things, be negative, but one of the things that was frustrating about stuff like, for me personally, Mandalorian Season 3 was there was a lot of Deus Ex Machina stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that was just like, these guys are never in danger, so whenever the threat shows up, I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah.
And so something like this would be a good place to kind of, have real danger and like have somebody redeem themselves in order to stop that, instead of it just being some kind of MacGuffin that comes out and fixes everything.
Yeah. I think some interesting ways that this could play out. Balin seems to have some hesitations about killing Jedi, but I don't actually know if that's, like, I can't read whether or not that's legitimate, or if he's like, what a shame.
Well, he's not Sith.
No, we know he's not.
So there's not as much of, like, the blood feud. You know what I mean?
What if Mark is, like, so pro-killing Jedi as an ex-Inquisitor that he wants to kill Ahsoka himself, so he would save her from Balin?
That's the thing. Yeah, I can see that.
That would be fun. I don't know that I'm not the writer of the show, so I don't get to pick the best thing. I think that would be fun. I also think another potential thing is, like, what if he doesn't want the Empire back? We know that the Inquisitors were not treated particularly well in the Empire. What if he doesn't want Thrawn back? He's just like, no, I'm cool with being a badass mercenary, and I don't want a boss again.
He's an anarchist. No gods, no masters.
We have taken this beautiful Inquisitor boy, and we have just made him whatever we want him to be.
Yes.
Oh, that's definitely never something that's never happened.
Mark the anarcho-socialist.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. We're going to be so happy. I'm just here to get paid. Exactly. Anything else you wanted to touch up on, like anything you're looking forward to or hoping for?
I mean, just in terms of, like, they're giving, I feel like they're doing, like, adequate screen time for the specific characters, like, based on kind of how it's going. It doesn't seem too heavy one way or another. The conversations have gotten better. The emoting has gotten better, on Ahsoka's part specifically. This, like, really endeared Sabine to me, because, like, I understand that Sabine comes from another show, but when I watch shows like this, I kind of try to see them as, like, a new character almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially when you were going into live action, because it's not the same person and it's not animated anymore, so they have to establish themselves. Yeah. And this, like, really endeared Sabine to me.
Okay.
I look forward to more of that.
Oh, one thing I wanted to say. I'm interested to learn more about Morgan.
Yeah, well, yeah. The whole Night Sister thing. What the hell is going on with that?
Yeah, well, and something that I didn't really dwell on the last episode, because we had a lot to talk about with 2 episodes, really. She says that she hears Thrawn calling to her through space.
I don't know what the hell that means.
Exactly. What the hell does that mean? Why? What is her and Thrawn's connection? And why?
And why is her and Thrawn's connection?
Well, yeah, and why? Or is it something else that she's hearing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's, like, the Force, right? Or, like, if she's a Night Sister, then magic with a K. But that's a different manifestation of the Force.
Yeah.
But Thrawn's not a Night Sister or from Dathomir
right.
or from... I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I still don't understand. I don't understand the Night Sister thing. I don't understand why she's hearing...
I keep
hearing Thrawn through... Good job.
I just love it when the ring light perfectly lines up with my glasses. Yeah, so I think that there is something interesting here to examine as far as a foil between Morgan and Hera. Because it was nice in the beginning scene to hear that Hera has been tirelessly looking for Ezra this entire time. That she has not given up, and it's been enough of a thing that some random senator knows that she's been looking for Ezra. So, it appears that this is not the first time she's asked for something to help find Ezra. And then on the other hand, we have Morgan reaching out to find Thrawn. Now, obviously, what we know about Hera and Ezra, it feels very natural that he's like a son to her. Like, of course she's going to come looking for him. We don't really have the why Morgan is looking for Thrawn.
Maybe she's like a daughter to Thrawn. I don't know.
Oh, no. I just don't see him as the fatherly type.
No. Well, again, we have no idea what Thrawn's going to be like.
No, you're right. We don't. We have no idea. When are you hoping to see Thrawn? You want next episode?
ASAP?
ASAP.
Even if it was just like a 2-minute scene of... Again, one of the things that's in my head that we're probably not going to get to see. But I love the concept of like him and Ezra being trapped on the ship together and them doing like Home Alone-esque bullshit to each other for how many years? 9 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that?
Like a decade.
like Ezra leaving out micro machines for Thrawn to trip over as he's chasing him around the ship. I know that's not going to happen.
So you think that they're not like on like an island or a planet or something? You think they are still on the ship? No,
there's no way. But there's no way. But that's what I'm saying. That's what it's like in my head. Is that they've been like having this weird Looney Tunes style fight for the last 9 years.
I know Star Wars does not like to do flashbacks, but a personal request from Marshall, number one Mark fan club member Marshall Drain, would love to see a Looney Tunes montage between Ezra and Thrawn. Yes. I'm sure that exists already on the internet. Some fan has made it, but we're requesting.
I'll have to find it, and if you know where it is,
you
send it to me.
Yes, you feed him, please, because my content's not what he wants to see.
That's not true. I support you.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yes, and I forgot to mention too that they mentioned that Mon Mothma is the Chancellor.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Do we know what happens to Mon Mothma?
Does she get blown up
on
Ilum, or from Ilum?
Hosnian
Prime. Hosnian Prime.
Isn't that Hosnian system? I think Hosnian Prime is like the main planet, and then there's like some other. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Hosnia.
In episode 4, take 2.
Yeah. Episode 7, when Ilum, aka Starkiller Base, blows up the Hosnian system. We know so much about the sequels, guys. I have seen every Star Wars movie like several times, except episode 9, which I have seen exactly once in theaters and went, white.
It's the last movie we saw before COVID hit.
It was the last movie we saw before COVID hit.
And that was, really guys, that was the hardest part about COVID.
He's joking, obviously. But, yeah, so that's, I hope that they explain that at some point, that they have some time to talk about why is Morgan looking for what's going on here. Because I feel like, here's the thing, we have 5 antagonists in this show. That's a lot to explore.
A lot of antagonists.
It's a lot to explore.
We have 5 antagonists and 5 episodes left.
Yeah. I mean, that's assuming that Thrawn is really an antagonist of the show, which I kind of assumed, but he may only show up for like the last... I don't expect him to show up next episode. I think it'll be like episode 5 or 6 before we see him. Probably 6. That's my prediction. If I'm wrong...
So it's going to be episode 6 where she Ezra?
Probably. I think the next episode is going to be like totally on Cetos. And maybe we're going to end the episode. Excuse me. End the episode with the jump. So I think that we're probably not going to see anyone until episode 5.
Pretty good way to do a halfway point.
Yeah. Yeah, so Angela pointed out it would be funny if Morgan tries to take advantage of Thrawn and use him, and then I imagine he'd see it coming and have her utterly destroyed. You know what? That would be... I think that they almost wanted to do that with Price's character, and they didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a fair thing to do. But I feel so intrigued by our other 3 antagonists. We know almost nothing about Baylan and Shin, but their presence is so tangible. Everybody loves them. Everybody wants more of these characters. Everybody's talking about Marek. Everybody's talking about Shin and Baylan. And we know relatively little about any of those characters, but Baylan was in 2 seconds of this episode, and his just commanding presence, and the tone of his voice and the music and the way he's just standing there and waves his hand off and everything. That has more of an impact on me than Morgan being destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. And Shin's wild eyes as
Shin being like a feral cat in charge of a
wolf girl,
fighter plane.
Wolf girl.
Yeah, I mean it. Again, they with the number of antagonists and the length of the show, they're gonna compromises gonna have to make something.
Yeah, and I'm okay if that compromises. However, Morgan knows Thrawn. That's fine, I guess.
Because we have all kinds of books about Thrawn. We don't have anything about Shin and
Baylan. We want more. We don't know why they haven't released the action figures of them yet. Release that.
Yeah, they're coming there. I would hope so. Because I will buy both of them when they come.
We will, and we're on episode 3, which speaks very well to the future.
I don't buy action figures, but I buy a Shin and a Baylan action figure.
He finances my action figures.
I buy scale models of military vehicles. That's my addiction.
He programs his credit card into my laptop so that I can buy
Grand
Inquisitors. And that's not true. You've bought me action figures before.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Cal and Trilla.
Well, yeah, but I don't want Trilla.
Yeah.
I buy action figures when it's Trilla.
So that they can sit on the Inquisitor rack back there.
Yep.
Oh gosh. All right, guys. I think that's basically everything we wanted to talk about. We're excited, folks. I think you can tell. We're
this was a huge bump.
Yeah, we're the last one we kind of had to start off with what was some positive things, but this one, man, right out the gate, very pleased. So, we're very much looking forward to seeing you again. Hope that there's... Oh, and I meant to just on the business keeping in, there will be no drawing stream tomorrow because we will be at a convention. So, yay! If you're going to a convention this weekend called Dragon Con, look for us there. But thank you for joining us tonight. See you next week.
Ciao.
See ya.